Am I audible clearly, loud, and clear?
Yes, yes, loud and clear.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. A very good evening. Welcome you all to the value added course, which is designed by the Zoology Department, and it is on environment and sustainability. It is of around 1 month duration. It will continue for this entire January. There will be online classes, as well as we had also decided that the practical classes would be there on offline mode, but I don't know, we'll let you know in due time regarding the practical classes. And let me request the IQAC coordinator, Dr. Sudipta Das, to give the inaugural speech and start the session. Sir, we welcome you.
Okay, thank you, Zarka. So, am I audible?
Yes, Shudipto, you're audible.
Okay, okay. So, I am keeping my video off because it may create some network problems. Will that be okay?
Perfect, perfect. No problem,
Yes,
no
no
problem,
problem.
Shudipto.
Okay, okay, fine. Thank you. Okay, so good evening, everybody. And first of all, my heartiest congratulations to the coordinators and instructors of this value added course on environment and sustainability as organized by the PG Department of Geology, BB College Asansol, for making very nice initiative to organize a course on such a contemporary and pertinent topic. I also congratulate my other esteemed colleagues from the Department of Geology and of course a very warm welcome to all the participants who have registered for this course. And I am quite certain that you will get enriched at the end of this course by learning many facets of this looming crisis of environmental sustainability and how to find some plausible solutions regarding them. I am feeling really privileged and honored to be invited here to deliver the inaugural speech for this program, as unfortunately, our principal sir hasn't been able to present here due to his tough and busy schedule. And now, I would like to use this opportunity to express a few words to the participants present here. As we all know very well, environmental sustainability is one of the biggest issues faced by the mankind at present. Increasing population along with tremendous escalation in anthropogenic activities has raised several questions on the sustainability of natural resources on our planet. No part, and believe me, when I say no part of the earth that says from the height of the Everest to the depth of the oceans. So, no part of the earth is now untouched by the effect of human activities or pollution. Even increasing, so ever increasing human population and increment in per capita consumption has put great constraint on the natural resources also. In addition to this, urbanization, industrialization, and modern agricultural practices have polluted the water resources, air, and soil all around the globe. The natural resources are thus not only being overexploited but also becoming contaminated with toxic chemicals, making it difficult for the survival of future generations. The ever increasing emission of greenhouse gases is showing far reaching impact on the blue planet. And according to the estimates of various agencies, such as the United States Development Authority and Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, this will result in rise in temperature by 2 degrees centigrade on average by the year 2050. This has and will further change the face of the earth. Due to the impact of global warming, glaciers and polar ice caps are already melting at rates 2 to 3 times higher in comparison to the last century. And according to the estimates, Earth at present is going through one of the biggest biodiversity loss phase, the impact of which is unforeseen and unpredictable. As per a United Nations report, the human caused rate of extinction of species that is anthropogenic causes of both plants and animals, at present it hundreds of times higher than the natural rate in the past. And as the situation is turning out, it can be thousands of times higher in very near future. As an example, it is estimated that the rate at which coral reefs are depleting, they will be completely wiped out in very near future, and with them several other species and the thriving marine ecosystem connected to them will also become extinct. Targeting short-term gains, humans have destroyed the natural systems with great pace, but it is difficult to estimate the impact of anthropogenic activities on ecology in terms of economics and even the survivability rate of different life forms on Earth. Although the technology has also advanced at a great pace, but still we have hungry people who do not get enough calories to grow normally or even survive. We have issues of availability of potable water, sorry, excuse me, and pure air to breathe, and ever increasing problem of land degradation. Saline soils are going to increase by 50% up to the year 2050, and land degradation has affected almost every country of the world. Human population is going to produce 27 billion tons of municipal solid waste by the year 2050, which would require great input of technology to manage. And role of microorganisms will be immense. Amount of non-degradable wastes is increasing by the minute, and some of the dangerous recalcitrant are accumulating in the food chains and are the cause of contamination of natural resources and extinction of species, apart from causing harm to the humans. As per recent report published in Scientific American, a mass of plastic waste named as Great Pacific Garbage Patch, approximately of the area 1.6 square kilometers, that is the size twice the size of the state of Texas in USA, that is floating on the surface of Pacific Ocean. Plastics are also accumulating on land and in water bodies at an unprecedented rate, and we need to find a quick alternative for these harmful creations of humans. Moreover, fires in the Amazon are destroying critical and poorly understood ecosystems. Plastics in our ocean are destroying various forms of sea life. Lead in our water supply is impairing human health, and toxics in our waste stream are finding their way into our food supply. The complex and interconnected web of life that makes human life possible, happy, and healthy is under deep threat by the technology that also makes human life rewarding, interesting, happy, and healthy. In many cases, we do not fully understand the threat, and we desperately need additional scientific research, observation theory, and knowledge. If we are to sustainably manage our planet, we need to invest significant additional resources in the science of ecology and environment. It is very important to assess the impact of human activities on the local ecosystems and the planet as a whole on a regular basis. Use of latest technologies and tools although help in the assessment of the situation, but the need is to find green solutions as well. Biotechnological approaches and green technologies are providing the solutions to this problem, at least some of the problems. Scientists are in process of developing green fuels and novel energy sources which could replace petroleum products and provide green energy so as to cut down the emission of greenhouse gases. Similarly, management of pollutants, organic wastes, and bioremediation of contaminated sites is being achieved by the help of biotechnological tools. Bioremediation is also a very important task which is being targeted for replenishing the polluted habitats using microorganisms and phytoremediation techniques. Food security is a very big issue faced by the mankind. Sustainable agriculture has still not been achieved, as dangerous and harmful agrochemicals rule the market throughout the globe and have caused great harm to the ecosystem worldwide. To achieve food security through sustainable means by maintaining the fertility and microbial diversity of the soil is still a challenge. Sustainable agriculture and organic farming are the biggest targets for the scientists in the future, and already some great results have been reported wherein chemicals are being replaced by biostimulants and biopesticides. Management of stress in crops and enhancement of productivity of marginal, fragile, and extreme habitats is also the target of the future, which has to be achieved using biological approaches. This will not only lead to food security but also to sustainability of the agro-ecosystems. With most of the world's population in cities, some people may be tempted to ignore these threats to our biosphere and to the ecosystem that comprises it. Some may think we can somehow transcend and ignore nature, but we cannot. Despite the wonders of our technology and the ingenuity that creates it, we humans remain organic living creatures. We rely on the planet for the food and water that sustains us, and as that food and water is being poisoned, our ill fate is to get sick and die unless we do something about it. Technology provides us with the ability to live the wondrous lives that many of us live, but if the impact of that technology on our planet is ignored, the planet and its inhabitants, such as the birds, humans, and other flora and fauna, can be harmed. The technology that creates harm can also be used to reduce that harm. So we can reduce pollution, and if we get sick, variants of the technologies that make us sick can also be used to diagnose and treat our illness. So think of radioactive materials used in imaging and the chemicals used in chemotherapy. Technology both creates and solves problems. But to successfully apply technology to our problems, we need to understand these problems first, and we need science and engineering knowledge to solve them. And this places a heavy burden on scientists and engineers. This burden is made worse by public officials who are scientifically illiterate. And I will not mince my word. So there is no politer way to state this. So the public officials who are scientifically illiterate, and by business people who place profit above the planet's well-being. In the case of climate science, opponents of greenhouse gas regulation have tried to delegitimize the science behind the greenhouse effects. And we saw this before with tobacco and cancer also. The strategy seems to be to attack the science, and reality will somehow go away. Scientists then find themselves defending their work against attacks that are not rooted in science. Many environmental scientists are amateurs at politics, and their advocacy can range from naive to extreme. They are experts at science and can defend their work before careful and reasoned academic critics, but they don't quite know what to do with the attacks rooted in interest group politics and financial self-interest. In this way, political interference in science research analysis attempts to replace fact and reason with ideology and bias. This takes us in the opposite direction of the places we need to go. We need ever more sophisticated observations, analysis, and models to understand the impact of human activity on the planet, as we have previously said. We need to carefully and thoroughly understand the impacts of our actions, and then just as carefully frame approaches to mitigate the damage we have created. Once we develop methods and mechanisms that reduce environmental damage, then we need a political process that can scale up these solutions and either through markets, regulation, subsidy, or infrastructure implement and operate these solutions. And what is the role of scientific learning in this situation? Well, we live in a society exclusively dependent on science and technology, and in which, unfortunately, hardly anyone knows anything about science and technology. This is a clear prescription for disaster. It's dangerous and stupid for us to remain ignorant about global warming, or to do ozone depletion, or to toxic and radioactive wastes, acid rains like that. And also our jobs and wages depend on science and technology. So how can we decide national policy if we don't understand the underlying issues properly? So as you know, the sword of science is double-edged. So as horrific misdeeds have been done using science, but also science has immensely improved our lives regarding disease cure, transportation and communication, etc. Hence, the awesome power of science compels all of us, including politicians, a new responsibility, more attention to the long-term consequences of technology, a global and transgenerational perspective, an incentive to avoid easy appeals to nationalism and chauvinism. Mistakes are becoming too expensive now, so we can't afford mistakes, many more mistakes, right? We have to remember that science is much more than a body of knowledge. It is a way of thinking. This is central to its success, and science invites us to let the facts in, even when they don't conform to our preconceptions. It counsels us to carry alternative hypotheses in our heads and see which best match the facts. It urges on us a fine balance between no holds barred openness to new ideas, however heretical, and the most rigorous skeptical scrutiny of everything, of new ideas and established wisdom. So we need wide appreciation of this kind of thinking, and believe me, it works. It's an essential tool for a democracy in an age of change. Our task is not just to train more scientists, but also to deepen public understanding of science and what is the scientific process. So, as a conclusion, environmental sustainability is thus one of the biggest challenges and most important targets of the present times. It is the major attention area for researchers, academicians, scholars, governments, and non government organizations involving individuals, communities, countries, continents, and the globe as a whole. Environmental sustainability is the key strategy against the backdrop of the growth of human population and the rampant exploitation of environment by humans. The underlying concern of modern society is that while today people are enjoying the comforts of economic development, the future generations are on the verge of confronting scarce natural resources and polluted environment, and it is our most important responsibility to leave the planet as a self-sustainable system, providing equal opportunities of survival not only to our future generations, but also to all other species cohabiting with us. With these words, I would conclude here and would like to request the organizers to take over from here and proceed further with today's program. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for a wonderful speech. I would now request the HOD of Zoology Department, Dr. Arnab Ganguly, to enlighten us regarding environment and sustainability. Sir, can you please?
Yeah. So, so good evening, everybody. I would really like to thank our IQSC, Honorable IQSC coordinator, Dr. Shudipto Das from the Department of Mathematics, to impromptu come in and sort of give our inaugural session speech in the absence of our principal, Honorable Professor Amitav Vasu. So thank you, Shudipto, very much. I would also like to thank him for highlighting certain points about environment and sustainability. I would also like to thank the other organizers, Zarka, Rajrupa, and Atre, as well as other departmental members present, and also you, the participants, the students of our college, who enlighten us, and so that we can have interactive sessions through the span of 1 month. Shudipto sir has raised upon certain points. Our businessmen, they are making profits, they are making lots of money, lots of money, huge amounts of money. What will be there they do with that money? How much money do they need? How much money do they need to survive? Okay, well, I leave enough money for my children so that for 20 generations they can live very peacefully. But for your children to live peacefully, you need air to breathe, you need space, you need clean food, you need clean everything. Will you be able to provide them that? You are burning other only planet, the only resource, the only planet which we know where life can exist so far. Me myself being a fan of Star Trek, Stargate, I wish desperately that there are several planets and everything all there, and there are civilizations living there, and then there is a inter alliance coalition and everything, but that is still a story of science fiction. We still don't have any evidence of extraterrestrial life so far. So this is the only planet where this blue planet where life can exist. This is our only home. Concept of terraforming and things of other planets is all a distant future. Whether we will be able to survive till terraforming and live in other planets, and what are the consequences of living in other planets, well, it is very difficult to say. So we have to save this planet. All what we take away from nature, nature gives it back to us. Nature gives us life, our sustainability. It sustains our life. And now, but if we keep on exploiting nature every day in and day out, what happens in the end is that life again, the conditions in this earth will remain, hopefully, will remain. But uh, unfortunately, it will not be suitable for life. Forget about all species becoming extinct. Forget about micro, even that human being or that businessman or that politician, that person also will not be able to survive. This is a question of intergenerational justice, that you are utilizing everything, the resources for your personal gains, but for how much do you need? How much money do you need to live? How much of resources do you need? So this is one point which even all the politicians and businessmen will sort of uh, have to take into account in their hearts. Praying to God will not help. Saying you're praying your namaz or your prayers or your pujas, it will not help this planet. Pray to your mother nature, pray to earth, treat it holy, treat environmental science as a religion. This is more very important. Even all the religions, they consider, they take little parts of our environment, saving our environment as parts of religion. We need to understand these things better. So this is on one hand, one part of this discussion which I'm going to put it back inside on one side. I will come to another thing. We are living in a again a pandemic COVID situation, which we thought that, well, finally it is over, classes and everything will be resuming offline, and we will have the added advantage of online knowledge as well as offline offline interactions, and so it's going to be a blended, and we are going to have a wonderful future. I hope we'll have a wonderful future. But currently what it stands that nature is still great, and there is another level of evolution coming back, and that is we have this new strain Omicron coming up. This Omicron strain, what scientists claim, they are it is much more infective, although they say that the symptoms or it is less fatal. Well, this is expected in evolution. This is an expected part of evolution, that gradually the lethalness will go and the infectivity will come high. So, like as for our influenza, influenza virus, we are not afraid of influenza. अरे मेरा को influenza हो गया, flu हो गया, कोई टेस्ट भी नहीं करा था इसका. Nobody does any test. Nobody is bothered about taking a test on influenza. But in 1918 to 20, that Spanish flu, Spanish influenza which came, it is actually iska baap tha, pardada tha. It was its ancestor. So that Spanish flu, which killed so many millions, millions of people in 1918 to 1925, the whole year, it's called Spanish flu because it was detected in Spain, but whole of Europe and the whole of world suffered for that. We had the same mask like situation, and things were happening the same thing, isolation, quarantine, all these procedures, they took place. But uh, that got domiciled into a normal flu right now, where we really are not bothered about it. This is how evolution goes, and this is how evolution goes. New diseases will come, pandemics will come, species will die, species will the circle of life will come, death, life and death, they will keep on going on together. But at the base of all this, it's all a part of this environment, this natural selection and thing, the whole environment. What do you mean by environment? The environment means our surroundings, where we live, where we breathe, where we eat. We forget that our environment, we keep our house clean, but we take all the garbage and throw it on the road. Lots of waste. And where are the municipality wale le jayenge, jamadar le jayenge? We think about all these things, but these things, actually, you're cleaning your home, you're removing garbage from one area to the other area. So this is in our developing country like India. Western country, well, they are far more advanced. Well, let's see how advanced they are. Norway, Sweden, Denmark. They declare their country to be carbon neutral. They encourage their citizens to cycle to the offices, not to take their cars and cause pollution. Well, that's a very good, well and fine idea. They discourage opening up of industry more on agriculture. They are now placing emphasis. Norway, Sweden, Denmark. But very well, well and fine. You have done wonderfully, I tell them. But from where do you take your clothes? Where do you take your some cars are needed? Where do you get your bicycles produced? Well, we take it from other countries. What are the other countries? Developing countries like India, Bangladesh. So, developing countries, they will use carbon, they will release carbon fuel, they'll use carbon fuel, they will burn coal, they will burn petrol, their looms will run, they will create a lot of clothes products, and that is going to be imported and they will buy them. So they are carbon free, but the developed countries become carbon suppliers to the world. They are the pollutants. I call developing countries should do this. They keep on saying, but you are forcing the developing countries to release your carbon into the atmosphere. Is this a sustainable development? Can you sustain this? One side of the world remains clean, the other side remains dirty. Is it fair? Will this fairness stay? Suddenly, the dirt will keep on spreading throughout. So in the morning, you throw everything in the garbage outside on your road. Come after 2-3 hours, the cows and the dogs and some people, rag pickers, they will all spread it throughout the road. Then it will keep on being distributed, and the whole road becomes dirty. So this is not environment and sustainability. You cannot sustain your environment this way. It all comes into our from our heart. It should be a part of the thing in the morning. Like we pay respect to our elders, we must pay respect to our environment. Whether we pay respect to the others in the outside, I don't know. Whether you pay respect to your own self, we don't know. But you must definitely try to pay respect to your environment, to your elders, to your parents. So pay respect. How do you pay respect? Just not by holding organizing seminars and discussions and one day political speech. They will not help you in any way. It should come from your heart. You throw something on the road, think twice. In India, I get very much irritated. These Gutkha people, I call them the Indian cows. They take this Gutkha in their mouth, on the road. This is then you go in the road. Throughout, you'll find those spit. Through this spit comes out, if you have coronavirus, it is all, you're spreading that corona throughout the road, the COVID throughout the road. Anybody's speaking over there, and it's normally the innocent little children who touch all those dirty things. It's very difficult to handle children. If you are absent-minded, they can pick it up. They can put their hands in their mouth. So these Indian cows, they keep on, they can't even talk properly. Their mouth is already filled up with their fodder. They're chewing that fodder and spitting on the road. So much spit. How much spit can people produce? Whenever I see people walking on the road in India, so much spit. From how much spit they get? Tons and kilos and kilos and liters of spit they're throwing on the road. Well, I don't never needed to spit out on the road. I don't know how they spit. They spit. That is out of habit. I have to spit. Don't spit in safe places. Then eating something and throwing on the road. Well and good, if it's organic, it's fine. But if it's something like plastic bottles and everything, even look at in our BB college ground, it was cleaned up. Online classes, offline classes started. One day, all the students, after so many days of lockdown, students came to the college. They sat on the ground. They went over. I just came and saw, filled with plastic bottles and dirt and everything. The whole ground was loitered. In the morning, again cleaned. Next day, again another batch of garbage was put on that. This is not respecting nature. This is one aspect. Another aspect, I would say, a future problem which is going to arise. This is the last thing which I would like to say today, is our electronic pollution which is taking place. And this is the problem of the Western world. You are exactly, Shambhavi. That is because lack of civic sense. Actually, so lack of civic sense is actually lack of respect to the environment. Another thing is electronic pollution. So do you know the amount of data which we are transferring from here and there, and so many people coming online because one server in China consumes the electricity. One China for one city consumes the electricity amount of another city. So if we did not have these electronic conversations, although this is very essential, right now we are all crippled. It is very essential. So the amount of electronic pollution is, you are demanding an electricity of another city. One city is demanding not only that city, but also for an electricity for another city. And where is that electricity coming? It is coming from burning coal. So this raises the question of finding alternative and clean energy sources. So far, solar energy is very expensive, in terms that the equipments of solar energy is very expensive. It is not feasible. Why is research not done? Why is still petrol and diesel cars sold so much? Why don't we see electric vehicles? Why is there no research on electric vehicles or solar vehicles going on? Why? That is just because it's the greed of these corporates and multinational companies. They have to sell their products, but for whom? Who is going to reap their benefit? They will not be able to reap their benefits. So come back to the same circle from where I started. So with this, I would like to end my talk, and I would like to thank everybody for listening to me patiently. And over to Zarka for her comments and for her lecture right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arnabda. Uh, Thank you very much. You put forward many important points regarding this pollution and various causes of environmental degradation. It's electronic pollution, the current cause of concern, and so on. So, to begin with today's session, I would just like to introduce you people with the very basic things of this environment and society. What is environment and how we are related to this? How we treat our surroundings, how we place ourselves in the surroundings. Yes, anyone, Kirti, what is environment? Environment. Very simple. Literal meaning of environment is, I've already said, sir already said, everybody before sir, Sudipto sir also said. What is environment? Quickly, come on. Shalu.
मैम आवर सराउंडिंग हम लोग के आसपास जो
Yes,
भी है
surroundings. Literal meaning of environment is surroundings. So what is surrounded? What is surrounded?
मैम लाइक प्लांट्स एनिमल्स ऑल
Yes,
मतलब जो भी है हम लोग के
all the
आसपास
living organisms. All the living organisms are surrounded. Surrounded by what? Surrounded by what? Surrounded
Biotic
by
and
the
abiotic factors.
various biotic and abiotic factors. The physical factors, right? The soil, water, your different minerals, the different things which make up the surroundings. So, what are the grades? What are the different grades of surroundings? How is it divided? Okay, all these things will cover up in today's class, and more importantly, first let's elaborate more on the definition of the environment. So according to one scientist, Boring, okay, he defined a person's environment consisting of sum total of the stimulation which he receives from his conception until his death. From his conception until his death, the sum total of stimulation that he receives. All right. So that will naturally comprise what? The various types of forces like physical, intellectual, economic, political, cultural, social, moral, emotional. All right. And according to another scientist, Douglas, according to him, the term environment is used to describe the aggregate, all the external forces, influences, conditions which affect the life, nature, behavior, and the growth, development, and maturity of living organisms. All right. So this is how environment. These are the two perspectives by which they have defined the environment. Okay. Now the segments of environment. All right. Coming to the segments of environment. What are the segments? What by segments? What do we understand? Yes, the segments of environment. Aritri? Aritri?
Yes, ma'am.
The segments of environment. Segments means for parts of environment. What are those?
Physical factors, biotic
Yes, physical
factors.
factors. Now, basically, if we consider the spheres, the different spheres, it is what the atmosphere. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Then the second is
Hydrosphere,
hydrosphere. Yes,
uh,
and then after that, lithosphere,
lithosphere.
biosphere. Okay, so the four segments of environment are these. All of you know atmosphere also is again divided into different layers. Then hydrosphere is divided into different layers. Lithosphere is also divided into different layers, and biosphere. Different biosphere means different kinds of living beings are separated in different niches, right? They have different habitats and they interact with each other differently. All right, all the group of organisms have their own domain. Okay, they are provided with their own domain naturally. Nature has gifted them. This is your domain. You can feed here, you can do your occupation, you can carry on your hunting business, you can carry on your whatever, stem boring, whatever. If it's an insect, it will carry out its feeding, reproduction in its own areas, right? Now what will happen if one species try to intrude the domain of another species? Fight, conflict, right? Right. If one
Yes,
species,
ma'am.
now human, the domain of human is where? A part of lithosphere, a part of hydrosphere, right? And a part of atmosphere, right? So what is required by the humans to very wisely use this domain without disturbing the other species, right? Using resources, not exploiting them, making use of different species, okay, but not over consuming them. Okay, in a word, we are supposed to be very economical in whatever we do. But what do we do actually? What do we do? Humans are the greediest of all the species, greediest of all. We are not satisfied with anything. If we are given with a piece of land, we need more. If we are given with this is a well, you can drink water with it. No, not sufficient. I need more. If I'm given with this piece of atmosphere to breathe in, no, I need cleaner air. I need exotic money, cleaner, very, I need air conditioners and everything. Okay, I need luxury, more and more luxury. So this kind of mindset has caused problems to humans themselves. All right, they are doing what? They're going on exploiting and over exploiting resources, disregarding their what the future can be. All right, and in doing so, we are facing the dire consequences of the present. Right. I was, if you remember, I was talking of this term niche breach. Yes, niche breach. This pandemic is a result of niche breach. We are supposed to eat there everything, anything and everything we cannot eat. We are supposed to eat certain things, not all the things. We cannot have. I'm having exotic food. I can eat anything. God has given me enough brain, so I'm the master of all the species. Do whatever you wish. Not ওইভাবে চলবে না. So it is because of this kind of mentality that we are facing the current situation. Right? So you know the current extinction rate? Anyone? The current extinction rate? We are facing the 6th mass extinction at present. Do you know, Sambhavi? Yes? Anyone?
ma'am.
Pallavi? Anyone? Current extinction rate? Any guesses?
Ma'am, as you
Anyone?
have told, it's the 6 mass extinction phase.
It's the 6th mass extinction, and every hour, how many species are we losing? Any idea? Every hour, 3 species are getting extinct, and it is the most rapid. It is the fastest rate of extinction in history. There were 5 extinctions earlier, but this kind of fast extinction at this fast rate was never seen in history. It is the fastest.
Ma'am, maybe 100.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 3 species per hour. We are losing 3 species per hour. Every hour we are losing 3 species. Hundreds you're talking. I think it's thousands. Thousands of species we are losing. And it's a very grave situation. Apart from this, we also have natural causes of environmental degradation, like we are having volcanic eruption, we are having forest fires. Back to back, 4 to 5 forest fires have occurred in the previous year. Right? We have natural disasters like landslides, and all those things also cause huge amount of pollution. So keep aside those. We can control man-made pollution, right? Man-made degradation. We are not thinking about it. We are being very inconsiderate regarding all these things. Why do we need to study this value added course which we have designed, environment and sustainability? Why do we need it? What is so important about this? Yes, please give your views, students.
So that we can share this to the crowd that we would face in our future.
Because you are the future.
Yes.
The students are the future. Until and unless the students actively participate in spreading the awareness, we are, it's the responsibility of we the teachers to impart whatever information we have regarding whatever we are supposed to just transfer those to the students. And the students, it is the duty of theirs to do what? To carry that information to their homes and to educate their family, to educate their relatives, to educate their neighbors. It is their duty. Okay, it is your duty to educate them about the do's and don'ts. Not only, I'm not talking about just the environmental concern, about every important information which you get. Otherwise, knowledge is otherwise going to college, attaining knowledge is all baseless. If you are not able to, if you're not able to, spread your knowledge, their information, the important aspects which you have learnt in the educational institutions, if you're not able to spread it properly, what is the use? So we are conducting this course. Okay, you will be taught regarding the different aspects of environmental degradation and the different methods by which mitigation can be done. Okay, and it is then will be your duty, it will be your duty to go home and educate your younger brother, sister, your parents. Okay, whenever you go shopping, say no to the use of plastics. Okay, carry jute bags from home, or ask for paper bags if they have. Say no, stop throwing garbages here and there. Be economic in using electricity. Okay, don't waste water. We are also becoming so inconsiderate in the usage of water. Groundwater depletion. Kolkata and the other some other states of Bengal face this will face this threat very soon. Groundwater depletion. All right. So all the resources should be used very wisely and economically, sustainably. What is the meaning? What is the literal meaning of being sustainable? Sustainable? Yes. The use of any resource considering the future generations. I'm not supposed to use all the resources alone. I have to use it in such a way so that it is enough for me, and there will be scope for the future generations also to use them. I'm not supposed to just uh, overuse it and just finish it off. All right. So today's lecture will be given by Dr. Atrey Day. She is the assistant professor of zoology department, and she'll be teaching you two topics today. All right. So pay attention to her and cooperate with her, all of you. All right. Good evening, ma'am. So you can start with your topic now.
Good evening, ma'am. Yes. Okay. After hearing the lectures from Shudipto sir, from our HOD sir, and from Zarka ma'am, we have come to know about the environment, sustainability of life, sustainable development, etc. So now, the first lecture will start with pollution, water pollution. Okay, let me share my screen. Is it visible? Is my screen visible?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Still not visible?
No.
No, ma'am.
Now is it visible? No. Now is it visible?
Ma'am, it's presenting, but yes,
প্রেজেন্টিং
ma'am, it's
দেখাচ্ছে
visible.
বাট স্ক্রিনটা আসছে না।
Oh,
তুমি দুটো অ্যাকাউন্ট দিয়ে লগইন করেছো, ল্যাপটপ এন্ড মোবাইল?
না তো।
দুটো আর থ্রিডে
Mobile
দেখাচ্ছে এখানে।
ল্যাপটপ থেকেই তো করেছি।
আসছে না কেন?
আমার connection
প্রেজেন্টিং
ওকে
দেখাচ্ছে
দেখাচ্ছে
তো,
একটু
ইউর এভরিওয়ান স্লাইডে না। তুমি কি শেয়ার স্ক্রিন করেছো না শেয়ার?
শোনো, এখানে লেখা আছে
Yes,
যে
ma'am. Now
avoid
it's
an
visible.
infinity don't share your entire screen.
ইনফিনিটি লুপ থাকুক না, কোনো অসুবিধা নেই। ইনফিনিটি লুপ আসুক না, কোনো অসুবিধা নেই।
মানে পাওয়ার পয়েন্টটা দেখা যাচ্ছে না, তাই তো?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, ইনফিনিটি এন্টায়ার স্ক্রিনকে ইয়ে করো, শেয়ার এন্টায়ার স্ক্রিন। এবারে পাওয়ার পয়েন্টটাতে চলে যাও। পাওয়ার পয়েন্টের উইন্ডোটা খোলো। তুমি কিন্তু বারবার ডিসকানেক্ট হয়ে যাচ্ছ।
আমি একটা সাজেশন দিতে পারি আত্রেই। আমার মনে হয় তুই ভিডিওটা একটু অফ করে দে, আমার মনে হচ্ছে নেটওয়ার্ক ইস্যু হয়েছে ওই জন্য শেয়ার। হ্যাঁ, এবার এসেছে, এবার এসেছে। তুই ভিডিওটা অফ করে দিতে পারিস চাইলে।
ভিডিওটা অফ করে দাও।
কারণ নেটওয়ার্ক ডাউন আছে তোর ওখানে। হুম।
ঠিক আছে না?
হ্যাঁ, পারফেক্ট আছে, দেখা যাচ্ছে।
Okay. Water pollution, we are familiar with this term water pollution. So basically, any type of pollution means contamination, right? Naturally, water pollution means contamination to the aquatic bodies in such a way that it will be much more toxic to the human health, to the nature, to all the aquatic animals. Basically, water pollution means it's a contamination of the aquatic system or the aquatic bodies. Maybe it's a fresh water or marine water. And the contaminants may be some type of nutrients, any type of fertilizer or sewage, right? And also some toxic chemicals. The toxicity increases in such a level that the biota, all the aquatic animals or the related human health, they are affected in considerable way. Okay, so that is the water pollution. So now we all know about the causes of water pollution. Okay, so basically in the rural areas we can see that that there are some ponds or some aquatic bodies in front of the house, and all the people are cleaning their utensils, taking bath, or washing the clothes, or sometimes they clean their domestic animals in the ponds. So basically all these activities are making the water body polluted, right? The pond water receives some excreta of the human beings, excreta of animals, domestic animals. So all these are actually considered as the domestic wastes. Apart from the domestic waste, there are some industrial waste, agricultural waste, such as pesticides, biocides. Shipping wastes means when so many waste coming from the ship, it is actually will go to the marine pollution naturally. Radioactive waste, aquaculture waste, heat, acid rain. So these are all the main causative factors of water pollution. So in the pictures we can see that this is the acid rain. Acid rain means nitrogen dioxide or the sulfur dioxide coming from the any from the industrial areas, and then they are coming to the atmosphere, mixing with the water, oxygen, and then forming nitric acid, HNO3, or sulfuric acid. Okay, so in the form of the acid rain. So HNO3, H2SO4 actually very much harmful to the trees also, as well as to the water bodies. Okay, so acid rain is one of the causative agents of water pollution. These are all the domestic waste, shipping wastes, industrial waste, radioactive wastes. So now, what are the effects of water pollution on human health and environment? So basically, water pollution, it is not a new topic to you all. You all know the causes of water pollution and also the effects of water pollution. Still, I am discussing with you all. It will be very good if you interact with me. Okay, so basically, I want to know from you all, do you have any idea regarding effects of water pollution on our health as well as on our environment, and any type of any aquatic animals? On aquatic animals means basically we consider the fish. Aquatic animal means fish. Okay, so any one of you kindly unmute yourself and tell some effects of the water pollution on our health. Any one of you?
Ma'am, the first effect on the aquatic habitat is in the fish, as we have observed that they show up consequence of biomagnification, like overusing of pesticides and like DDT. So
Very good.
it go over level to level over organisms, like from consumers to producer, and after that it affects us, like those as human producers eat those
Yeah,
fish which are
Bhavati, you are
affected by those chemicals and pesticides. So
right. Not only not only
Fluorosis, arsenic disease, blackfoot disease.
black disease,
These
and
are
also
some
there are
diseases that caused by what?
heavy metal pollution coming from the industries like mercury, lead. They are also actually mixing with the water body. In Kolkata, there is a wetland, the East Kolkata wetland there. In that water body actually much polluted for heavy metal pollution may be observed. Okay, so that may lead to biomagnification. The heavy metals are causing so much disease to the fish and also to the human health. Okay, you see, it is a very good point as an effect of water pollution. Very good. Apart from all these, there are also some plant nutrients like nitrate, phosphate, ammonia. They also trigger eutrophication. It is a basic effect. We all know that. Okay. Apart from this, water pollution is very much harmful to the babies, because sometimes the nitrate in the water body, if a baby consumes the water, drinking water with the nitrate, in the stomach, the nitrate is transformed into nitrite, and they act on the blood hemoglobin and form the metaglobin, and that is known as the methemoglobinemia. That is the blue babies. Okay. So these are all the effects of the pollution on the human health, as well as on the fish juveniles. The growth of the fish juveniles are reduced because of the presence of heavy metals like lead, mercury. Apart from these, there are some organic phase. They not only reduce dissolved oxygen concentration to the aquatic phase, but also promote the anaerobic bacteria. And another most important cause of water pollution is the oil pollution. Oil pollution in the coastal zone, in the estuarine area. Oil spill. Oil spill is another major issue for the water pollution, rather in case of marine water pollution. Okay. Not only on the human health, water pollution is very much harmful for the plants also. For example, we have come to know about acid rain. Okay, so acid rain is coming as a result of the mixing of and in the process, you can see that art. So the acid rain containing the sulfuric acid of nitric acid, they damage the bark. Also, they can damage fine roots. Fine root hair of the plant. If the fine root hair damage the plant, so effect on them. Apart from this, acid trucks, cars, etc. Also, they are making some sort of atmospheric air pollution. Another problem is that the water pollution is causing damage to the plants in considering the photosynthesis issue. For example, we all know that photosynthesis is a physiological process in the plants where what is going on, the energy is coming from the solar system for producing the sugar, glucose, and converting carbon dioxide into carbohydrates. So when the water is polluted, what is happening? The water will not be able to dissolve enough amount of gases such as carbon dioxide. Okay, so the carbon dioxide gas will not be dissolved, or the oxygen will not be dissolved in optimum level. So the capacity of water to dissolve the gases will be compromised, will be affected. And as well as some hydrophytes are there. They are growing in water or in the waterlogged soil. So the hydrophytes will also depend upon the water for their photosynthesis and for their survival. So polluted water will interfere their physiological processes, and that will in turn might result in their death. And apart from this, polluted water in the ground actually washes the essential nutrients plants need out the soil. So water pollution makes the soil acidic and negatively affects the solubility of the nutrient ions such as iron, magnesium, potassium, and calcium ions. So these are the all negative effects of water pollution on plants. Now, another main interesting topic is the eutrophication. It is also a very basic level topic. We all know that eutrophication is nothing but it is the algal bloom. Okay, so do you have any idea regarding algal bloom or the dissolved oxygen? Any one of you? Do you have any idea regarding algal bloom? Have you heard of it? Salu?
Ma'am, in
Yes.
esterification, it happens.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
Esterification. Oh, sorry.
Ma'am, basically, it happens when in the area where the pollution level is low, as algae can't be produced in higher pollution level. Like,
No, actually, what is happening when some
मैम एल्गल
nutrients are coming,
जब हो जाता है और एक्यूमुलेट करने लगता है तो उसी को एल्गल ब्लूम
what is happening when the nutrients like phosphate, nitrates, all are coming to the water bodies? What is happening? The level of dissolved oxygen is depleted. Okay, because the nutrients are inducing the growth of the phytoplankton or the algae. Some algae and phytoplanktons are grown in the water that is rich in nutrients like phosphate, nitrates, ammonia, etc. Okay, so when in a water body, when algae or phytoplanktons are growing, what is happening? They will use the dissolved oxygen present in the water body, so it will result in the depletion of the level of the dissolved oxygen. Okay, can you get me?
Yes, ma'am.
So it is basically the process of oxygen depletion in the water body. Sometimes we can see that a water body is green in color. That is the eutrophication. That means there are algal bloom. The water body is green in color. Salu, can you get me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So when the phytoplankton or the algae in algal growth increased due to excess nutrients in the water body, what is happening? The level of oxygen is depleted, and that is the eutrophication. So it is often induced by the discharge of the nitrate or phosphate containing detergents, fertilizers, sewage in the aquatic system. So that is the eutrophication. So what are the effects of eutrophication? Basically, I have already said that it helps in increasing the growth of the phytoplankton, so increased biomass of phytoplankton. So basically, it is toxic and inedible phytoplankton species. That doesn't mean that the phytoplankton is a good species. Okay, it cannot be used by the fish juveniles. Increase the blooms of gelatinous zooplankton. Increased biomass of benthic and epiphytic algae, changes in macrophyte species composition and biomass, decreases in water transparency, increased turbidity. Okay, so I have already said that sometimes we can see that the water body is totally green in color. Color, smell, and water treatment problems, dissolved oxygen depletion, increased incidence of fish kills, loss of desirable fish species, reductions in harvestable fish and shellfish, decreases in perceived aesthetic value of the water body. Okay, so these are the effects of the eutrophication. So eutrophication is a process where toxic phytoplanktons and algae are increased in number due to the increased nutrients in the aquatic system like nitrate, phosphate coming from the detergent and fertilizers and causing depletion in the dissolved oxygen. Okay, that in turn causing decreased population of aquatic animals like fish, shellfish. These are the all cultivable fish species. That is known as the eutrophication and effects of the eutrophication. So now there is a need to prevent and control the water pollution. So sewage treatment methods are used for controlling the water pollution. There are three methods of sewage treatment: primary, secondary, and tertiary treatment. Okay, so what is happening when water is running, polluted water is running and through the primary sewage treatment, and then through the secondary, and then lastly to the tertiary treatment. So in the primary treatment, what is happening? It is a mechanical process. Okay, I will show the picture. Firstly, let me describe the process. What is happening? Firstly, it's a mechanical process. It simply removes solids. In the primary sewage treatment, the solid contaminants are removed by mechanical process. So there are some large solid particles in the water, and then some sand particles, some stones, and then lastly, smallest particles are also there. So firstly, what is happening? The relatively larger solid particles are separated with the help of metal screens. Okay. Suppose this is a metal screen, and then the sand particles, the small stones are separated with the help of the grit chamber. And then the water is coming to the settling tank, and the smallest particles are received or stored in the form of sludge. Okay. From which the water passes to the sedimentation tank, and during the passing of the water, the velocity of water is drastically reduced and the small particles are settled as sludge. The scum is removed from the uppermost layer. Okay, so firstly, in the primary sewage treatment, what is happening? The larger particles are removed with the help of the metal screen, and then the sand and the small stones are settled in the grit chamber, and the water passes to the sedimentation tank, where the velocity of the water is reduced so that the small particles are settled as sludge. This is the primary treatment. And in the secondary treatment, what is happening? In the water, not only the larger or the smaller particles, there is also the issue of having some organic matters, the organic contaminants. Okay, so in the secondary treatment, it is essential. Why it is essential? Because it is a biological process that has the efficiency to remove most of the organic matter, and with the help of some decomposer bacteria. So in the activated sludge process of secondary treatment, the incoming sewage is mixed with decomposer bacteria and with oxygen. Okay, so in this case, what is happening? The complex organic matter is treated by broken down into simpler forms. But in the secondary treatment, there is one drawback. That is, if the water contains huge amount of chemical toxin, then the decomposer bacteria may be killed. Okay, and the entire operation may be inhibited. Okay, so this is the one drawback that is faced in the secondary treatment. Apart from this, it is a very good process to remove any type of organic matter present in the water. Lastly, there is the tertiary treatment. It is able to remove virtually all the remaining contaminants. Is leaving conventional secondary treatment that has the most original phosphate and nitrate. So the water may contain some particles, some organic matters, some sort of nutrients which I have mentioned during the eutrophication, phosphate, nitrates. These are all removed with the help of the tertiary treatment. Apart from the nitrates and phosphates, this tertiary treatment is very much important to remove some insecticides, pesticides, herbicides, disease-causing bacteria, virus. Okay, number of industrial and organic compounds. So these are all the 3 treatment methods used to control the water pollution. আচ্ছা, এই তিনটে ট্রিটমেন্ট নিয়ে কারোর কোনো কনফিউশন আছে? Do you have any confusion regarding the treatment methods to control the water pollution or prevent the water pollution? কারোর কি কোনো বক্তব্য আছে? যদি থাকে তো বলো, আর যদি না থাকে তো আমি নেক্সটে যাচ্ছি। ওকে, আচ্ছা, এটা তো গেল আমাদের সিওয়েজ ট্রিটমেন্ট। এছাড়া আরো অনেক রকম ট্রিটমেন্টস রয়েছে। দেয়ার আর সাম ভ্যারিয়াস physicochemical techniques that are used for removal of chemical, biological, radiobiological pollutants, adsorption, electrodialysis, ion exchange, এগুলো reverse osmosis. These are all techniques to prevent and control water pollution. ওয়াটারকে পিউরিফাই করার techniques. These are the all various techniques. Reverse osmosis technique is based on the removal of salts and other substances from water by forcing the latter through a semi-permeable membrane under a pressure that exceeds the osmotic pressure, so that the flow is in the reverse direction to the normal osmosis flow. এছাড়া রয়েছে electrodialysis, and it is one of the membrane process developed commercially for desalting saline water to get potable water. Okay, this technique can be applied for treatment of wash effluents, especially in electroplating industries. Okay, so basically বিভিন্ন রকম there are some heavy metals like mercury discharging from any type of industrial plants. So heavy metals can be removed with the help of this technique. Okay, mercury selective ion exchange দিয়ে, phenolics, waste water এর মধ্যে phenolics, petroleum, paper mills, these are all used for purifying the water to get as a potable water, drinking water. Okay, potable means that is we can drink the water. So if a water is polluted or not, it will be very much easy for you to measure if the sample water is polluted or not. You can measure the dissolved oxygen, the amount of dissolved oxygen present in the sample water. The biological oxygen demand can be measured, chemical oxygen demand, turbidity, total solids, presence of nitrogen and phosphates. All these parameters can be measured to estimate the level of pollution of water in the sample water. Okay, in the practical class, whenever it will be possible for us to have any offline classes, in the practical class you can measure the level of pollution of sample water by measuring the dissolved oxygen, turbidity, total solids, by measuring all the parameters. So now, what is dissolved oxygen? It is the amount of oxygen that is present in the water. So water body receives oxygen from the atmosphere and from the aquatic plants, running water. Okay, biological oxygen demand, that is the amount of oxygen consumed by the bacteria and other microorganisms while they decompose organic matter under aerobic condition. Chemical oxygen demand means it is the amount of oxygen required to chemically oxidize the organic material and inorganic nutrients. Turbidity means amount of cloudiness in the water. This can vary from a river full of mud and sleet water. It would be impossible to see through the water. High turbidity means it will be much more cloudy. And the spring water, that is the clear, that is low turbidity. Total solid, it's a measure of the suspended and dissolved solids in water. Suspended solids, that means they are retained on a water filter and are capable of settling out of the water column onto the stream bottom when stream velocities are low. Nitrogen and phosphorus are the nutrients that are natural parts of the aquatic ecosystem, but sometimes nitrates and phosphates are coming from the industries and make the water bodies polluted. Okay, so after some freshwater pollution, now coming to the point, the marine pollution. So pollution of the world's ocean, it is quickly becoming a major problem on Earth. And so basically introduction by man of substances or energy into the marine environment that result in harm to marine life, hazards to human health, and hindrance to marine activities including fishing and other legitimate use of sea, impairment of quality for use of seawater and reduction of amenities. This is the marine pollution. Marine pollution is also a very burning issue, global issue. So basically, there's no need to give any introduction to the marine pollution. So basically, there are the habitats of marine mammals. In the marine environment, we can observe so many mammals, fish, okay. But their life, their habitat is being degraded with the pollution. Is responsible for their mass death of fish, death of mammals, death of corals, okay. There are so many pesticides, polychlorinated biphenyls, their range of other toxic pollutants, they are accumulating in the marine environment and they are accumulated in the food chain, and they are also causing some sort of reproductive disorders. So what are the sources and effects of the pollutants that are causing the marine pollution? Basically, there is no difference between the sources of pollution in the freshwater as well as in the marine water. Sewage, pesticides, plastic waste, metallic waste, oil, sediment, heat, radioactive waste, these are all causative agents. They are causing pollution in the marine environment as well as in the freshwater environment. So we can see here the sewage causing eutrophication, deoxygenation, okay. They are reducing the salinity of the marine environment. They are causing infection, toxic residues. Pesticides. Pesticides are basically, they are the active chemicals. We all know that they are entering the oceans from the atmosphere by aerial spraying, by any type of overland runoff, okay. They are affecting the food chain directly. They are concentrated in the fish, the marine mammals like seal, seagulls, okay. They are also causing bioaccumulation, biogenification. They're damaging their reproductive system, they're damaging their kidney, they're damaging their immunity. Plastic waste, it is also a global issue, plastic waste. So the waste of plastic in the oceans, they are high as 100 million metric tons. So many animals living in the sea, they consume the plastic by mistake, okay. So it is life-threatening for them. They are actually interfering with their digestive system. They are interfering with their passaging of the food, okay. They are causing death to the starvation. they cannot take the food properly, right? Sometimes it is not the only the issue of the marine environment. Sometimes I can see that in the dumping areas there are so many plastic in the dumping areas. There are some animals like basically the cows. Okay, they are taking food from the garbage from dumping areas. So basically, they take all the plastic. There's some dogs. There are, uh, they are roaming in the areas and they're actually taking the plastic as food. Problem in environment only. It's also the problem of all these animals. And these all actually caused by human activities, by us. Not only that, the marine environment, the fishing nets, the fish, dolphins, sea, okay, all the animals, they are entangled with the nets. And fishing nets are causing starvation, infection also. Okay, these are all the positive agents of their death. Metallic waste, metallic chemical elements, they have a relatively high density and toxic or poisonous at low concentration. So the examples like mercury, lead, arsenic, I have already mentioned. You have already mentioned, some of you. Okay, metallic waste can be enter the marine environment through weathering of the earth's crust. So these are the natural process. The use of anti-fouling paint on the bottom of boats, that has been implicated as a major source of heavy metal in water. It is also a very considerable factor. These toxic metals can accumulate in the tissues of many species of aquatic life. It is also affecting their nervous system, their kidney, damaging their reproductive system, their brain, respiratory system, all are being affected with the metallic waste. So a major threat for the marine ecosystem is the oil spill that is happen in river, bays, in the ocean. Most often they are caused by accidents. Sometimes the tankers, the barges, the pipelines, sometimes the storage facilities, they occur from recreational boats and in marinas. So spills can be caused by people making mistake or being careless, equipment breaking down, natural disasters such as hurricanes, storm, surge, or high winds, deliberate acts by terrorists, acts of war. These are the all causative agents. Causative factors by which oil spill can be caused. Most oils float on the oceans, salt water or fresh water, so they form a layer. Okay, so oil usually spread out rapidly across the water surface to form a thin oil slick. As the oil continues spreading, the slick becomes thinner and thinner, finally becoming a very thin sheen, which often looks like a rainbow. We have already noticed some thin layer on the water forms a rainbow like look. Okay, so depending on the circumstances, oil spills can be very much harmful to marine birds, turtles, mammals, and they can harm fish and shellfish. Oil destroys the insulating ability of fur-bearing mammals such as sea otters. Okay, so oil spill is a life-threatening factor in the marine ecosystem. See what is happening to the bird. Another one is the sediment plumes. It's a deep sea mining. It is a removing parts of the sea floor that disturbs the habitat of the benthic organisms. Plumes are caused when the tailing from the mining are dumped back into the ocean, creating a cloud of particles floating in the water. So there is also need and control the marine pollution. So we need to stabilize the ecosystem, reutilization, recycling and renovation and recharge of the waste, removal of the pollutants. We need to control the oil pollution following methods like by spreading a high density powder over the oil patch. It can be sunk to the bottom. Biodegradation, burning using a suitable absorbing material. Heat can be removed from condenser cooling water prior to their disposal into the marine water. Apart from that, removal of phosphorus by electrolysis, adopting appropriate methods to remove heavy metals from the marine water. Radioactive waste can be removed or reduced by the ion exchange techniques. The impacts of deep sea mining can be minimized or reduced by using proper mining techniques, creating awareness on marine pollution. Local communities near sea must protect sea management by government. So industrial units should be equipped with pollution control instruments. So in conclusion, it can be said that marine ecosystem, the ocean, it covers Earth's maximum percentage, 71%, and it plays an important role in the chemical and biological balance of the life on the Earth. Okay, so we need to save our ocean, we need to save our marine ecosystem, rather we need to save our aquatic ecosystem. We have to be very much aware about the water pollution. We should not throw any type of plastic or any type of toxic thing, anything that may be any type of plastic, any type of garbage, detergent in the aquatic body, because we have to be considerate about the aquatic life, ecosystem, okay, the overall environment, and sustainability of life. So today, that's it from our lecture. Pollution, rather from both freshwater and marine water pollution. So students, you already have different ideas about the pollution. Okay, I have already discussed about some causative factors and preventive measures. So if you have any sort of discussion or any type of questions regarding this, you may ask. Sarka, are you there? Zarka ma'am, are you there?
So if it's over, then we can conclude today.
Okay, yeah.
So students, you don't have any questions?
No, sir.
No questions. Then we can conclude today.
Okay, then.